Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zicree of Space Command, and also the author of the Twilight Zone Companion. So, we have a Kickstarter campaign. We're starting up for Space Command so we can shoot more, build creatures, build alien hibernation ships, all sorts of cool stuff. We'll be announcing that very, very shortly. All sorts of stuff is happening, lots of cool stuff. Nichelle Nichols, more and more things to announce very, very soon. The spacesuit contest is going. I'll be doing an update very, very soon. But right now, what we're here to do is we're here to talk about Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. And so it's getting better, but it's not the brilliant piece we thought it would be. My expectation was that Jordan Peele would be actually running that show, very hands-on, as he was with Get Out and Us, two films that I thought were very powerful, very fresh, and but that's not the case. And so what we're getting is a range. By the time you get to 6 or 7 episodes in, you start to see the shape of the show. You start to see the spectrum of it, the range of it, from good episodes to bad. And so at its worst, the new Twilight Zone is kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and doing things that are very, kind of not well structured and funky. And I think the problem is they think that doing Twilight Zone stories is easy, and they're not. They're deceptively difficult. Because to come up with something fresh, to come up with something amazing and profound, and not everyone can come up with something like Eye of the Beholder. And with Eye of the Beholder, it's a great example. It's an original episode of The Twilight Zone that Rod Serling wrote, where everyone in the world is ugly and beauty is considered hideous, and everything's turned on its ear, and there's a woman waiting to see if she's going to be made normal by surgeries. Kind of a dumb idea. Even as a kid, I knew where it was going to go. But then Rod and Douglas Hayes, who directed it, and Maxine Stewart, who played the woman whose head was wrapped in bandages, and William Tuttle, who was a brilliant makeup artist, and Doug Hayes also came from an art background, so the two of them figured out what the hideous people would look like, the ugly people. But it's a story that is so deeply about conformity and the rights of the disabled to fit into the world and not be excluded. It's about the right of anyone who doesn't fit the norm to be seen for their humanity and their value. It's an amazingly profound and prescient episode. This is before you had disability rights. This is before any of that stuff. And yet Rod is writing with great empathy for anyone who's on the outside who shouldn't be. And the question of what is beauty, what is ugliness, and why do we ostracize people who aren't what we consider beautiful. And again, a great episode, but it isn't the notion, it's the execution of that notion. And Rod, of course, was one of the great writers of all time. So now we come to Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, and the episode, it's called 6 Degrees of Freedom, and it's about a mission to Mars and whether or not they're being manipulated and actually going to Mars, or if it's some kind of psychological experiment. And because they close the windows so they can't look out, ostensibly because of radiation risk. And it's okay, it tracks. And the moment they close the windows, you know that something's up, that something's going to be funky, because why would they? And so basic notion is, just before a Mars launch, there's ostensibly a nuclear attack, people are wiped out, and the Mars mission, it's a question of, are we really going to Mars? Is it a suicide mission? Should we abort the mission? So forth. And there's a lot of problems with it. First of all, if there were a nuclear exchange now, as opposed to during the Cold War. During the Cold War, it would have been us versus the Soviet Union. It would have wiped out possibly all life on Earth because there was such overkill. But now, with the current political situation, if there were a nuclear exchange, it wouldn't kill everyone on Earth. It would be disastrous and horrifying, but it wouldn't escalate the way that the old Cold War style, turning into a hot war, would have. So that's all. So from the get-go, it's kind of like a concept that doesn't really make sense. And then it's like, well, are we part of an isolation experiment, which harkens back to the Twilight Zone episode "Where Is Everybody," which was about an astronaut trainee in an isolation experiment. Great Earl Holliman episode sold the show, and then there's one astronaut who tries to prove that it's a fake thing by opening the airlock, and he seemingly dies from a solar flare or whatever it is, and And then at the end, they do arrive on Mars, but then we pull back. We discover it's based on this idea, or this filter, the big filter, where the notion is that the reason we haven't encountered intelligent alien species is because they tend to destroy themselves before they go out into space in any definitive way. And at the end of this episode, we discover that aliens, this has all been a test that aliens have run on us to determine if we can stay the course and reach another world, in which case we've passed the test and they will make first contact with us. Okay, I guess. But it's kind of like twisty-turny, and it's like, well, are they on Mars? Aren't they on Mars? It looks like it's an alien simulation of some kind, because the guy who stepped out the airlock survived, but he's covered in slime. I'm not quite sure why he's covered in slime, other than it's like, different. But, and the actors who play the astronauts, they don't seem very credible as astronauts. I've met astronauts, a number of them. And the thing that I find about astronauts is they're thrilled by the idea of exploration. They are scientists first and foremost, and they love the idea of finding out new things and going out into space. They're thrilled with the adventure of it. And so, usually in science fiction stories about astronauts where it's not accurate, they're just kind of regular folks, and they're kind of arguing like regular folks, and it's just, it's okay. They did their homework, so all the launch stuff, and they call it the Bradbury Heavy, which is after Ray Bradbury, of course, my dear friend and mentor who wrote the Martian Chronicles. And then they mention Whipple, and like the Whipple mission or whatever the hell it is, because there's the brain center of Whipple's, which was a Twilight Zone episode that Rod Serling wrote. So there's all these tips of the hat, but it's an okay episode, but again, not anything to write home about. And the sets are fine, and the production values are fine. But again, I keep waiting for the great episode, the thing that just blows you away, and I haven't encountered that yet. And it's because, Jordan Peele is like, okay, he's the on-camera narrator, but this is not his show lock, stock, and barrel the way it was Rod's. So anyway, that's it for now. Remember to subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi, check out our Kickstarter campaign, and feel free to email me if you want to buy Space Command shares, $7,500 each, and it allows us to shoot more. And you can call me at 323-363-1259 or email me at markzickery.com. So until next time, have a great day, have a great life, and we'll talk very soon. Bye, guys.